Touchscreens! You don't have technology if it doesn't have a touchscreen. We got our phones with touchscreens, iPads, fucking laptop, goddamn refrigerators with touchscreens now. And now we got cars with touchscreens? Why do we have touchscreens in cars? I don't understand, and I hate it. Let's get down to business here. It all started in 1986 with the Buick Riviera. It was likely the first car to have a touchscreen, and I thought this was interesting. It was discontinued because popular mechanics wrote that the touchscreen violates the first commandment of ergonomics, which is that you must take your eyes off the road to make any adjustments. And that makes sense, does it not? You see a touchscreen, you can't feel a button on the touchscreen. You have to look at a touchscreen, aim with your finger, point at the button you want to press, and you're not paying attention to the road this whole time. It's not fit for cars, as you need to be driving, not fiddling around with your goddamn touchscreen to change the AC controls or change your radio station, adjust your volume. No, the mechanics back then had a point. It's just not, it's not safe. It's ridiculous. So anyway, a few years go by, no touchscreens in cars. Then 2001 rolls around, and BMW decides to introduce their iDrive system or whatever, which is a touchscreen. They say, oh, there's too many buttons. It's going to cause more of a distraction than a touchscreen. If you ask me, that's just a load of bullshit. You go to adjust your volume, you don't look. You keep your eyes on the road, and muscle memory just takes your goddamn hand to the volume knob, right? It takes your hand to the fucking AC controls. They say they have so many goddamn buttons that it's going to be more distracting than a touchscreen. How many buttons are you going to regularly be using on the road? I remember my mom's Chevy Trailblazer. It had big old buttons everywhere, and I loved them. I thought the buttons were really stylish. I mean, a lot of people said they're ugly, but I liked them. My 1995 Ford Probe GT has buttons, and I love it. It's so just intuitive, and you don't have to look at a touch screen to figure out where your finger is going to be pointing. And the Ford Probe was ahead of its time, in my opinion. And whenever I get a new audio system in my car, whenever I get a head unit, you have those Apple CarPlays and the Android equivalent. I see no point to those. I just go for the good old-fashioned Pioneer head unit with a couple of buttons on it, and that's it. That's all I need. It's a lot simpler too. I don't have to look at a touchscreen to figure out what buttons I'm gonna be pressing. And I've seen a lot of news about this recently too. A lot of posts on Reddit, stuff like that. Nobody likes touchscreens in cars. Yet for some godforsaken reason, every new car has a bigger touchscreen. Especially with Tesla. They have humongous touchscreens. I mean, it's ridiculous. In fact, I just saw an article about a new Cadillac. It's called the Cadillac Lyriq, which is expected to go into production in a couple years, and it has a 33-inch long touchscreen. That is ridiculously large. I don't even have a 33-inch TV. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot more functionality in a touchscreen than there are with buttons. You can fit a lot more functions in a touchscreen than you can fit buttons on a dashboard in a car. But seriously, think about it. How many functionalities do you use in your car every day? Climate control, cruise control, radio. There's not much. The only thing I can think of right now that it might be nice to have a touchscreen for is navigation. Now, for me personally, I prefer to just use my phone for navigation. I use an app on my phone, and in my opinion, it works a lot better than any car navigation system. Now, a touchscreen in something like a phone, obviously, we use our phones now for everything. We search the internet, we make phone calls, we browse freaking Instagram, we watch YouTube videos for God's sake, and we even play like video games and stuff like that. I feel like in the automotive industry, car automakers are just being pressured into making cars with touchscreens because if they don't, their car is not good enough, blah blah blah. I just think it's so counterintuitive and just gimmicky. It's so dumb. Whenever you see somebody out on the road driving and they're just being distracted by their phones, they got their phone up in their face, they're trying to juggle looking at their phone and looking at the road at the same time. It's the same thing if they're trying to adjust the air condition controls on their touchscreen interface. It's no different. So the AAA actually conducted a study about this on how bad the distraction actually is from these touchscreen infotainment systems. And they found that in most cases, on average, it took up to 40 seconds for the test subject to use the infotainment system. And that's 40 seconds with their eyes off of the road and not paying attention to the road. That's ridiculously unsafe. Now, of course, it's partially the driver's fault. It's just like texting and driving. Oh, it can wait. You can pull over to send a text or whatever, stuff like that. But is somebody gonna pull over just to figure out how to use their air conditioning controls? No, nobody's gonna pull over for that. They're gonna figure it out while they're driving. That's just how people are. They don't have time to sit on the side of a road and fiddle with some shitty touchscreen controls. If you ask me, the manufacturers are entirely to blame for this distracted driving. And I've in my experience at least, I've found that a lot of the touchscreen systems that I've used are just dog shit. They're so difficult to use and they're so ridiculously unresponsive. Like, you have to tap this thing like 20 times to press a button for it to work. For example, my mom's 2016 GMC Acadia came with one of those touchscreens, and it was so dog shit to use. Even as a passenger, I'd be getting frustrated trying to press a goddamn button because it's so unresponsive. Now, to be fair, some manufacturers do implement safety features into these, like you can't input your navigation address while you're driving. The car has to be in parked in order for it to work. Now, of course, that's helpful, but you're still gonna have people staring at the screen while they're driving 80 miles an hour on the highway to adjust their climate control and whatnot. Now let's take a look at this Tesla, for example. First off, you can see that is an insanely big screen. I don't know why anyone would ever need that in a car. But of course, Tesla being Tesla, Elon Musk just having to go above and beyond, we have a huge ass screen in the middle of that car. And there's so much going on it too. It's like a fully functioning iPad. From my understanding, you can do everything on it that you can do on a computer, basically. And it's not like Tesla's self-driving capabilities make up for this. No, the self-driving capabilities are still bad. I would never trust that with my life. Even then, plenty of other manufacturers are making touchscreens like this now, and they don't have self-driving capabilities. Anyway, I just don't understand why automakers just keep going with these unintuitive, crappy, distracting touchscreen interfaces when we could go back to buttons. They're simple, they've been around for a really long time, and they work. They work very well at that. It's not hard to develop muscle memory for these buttons where you can just reach over and you'll know what button you're touching. It makes so much more sense than a touchscreen where you have to look at it in order to make any adjustments. You're supposed to be looking at the road, guys. They say they're making cars safer every year, better safety ratings, whatever. And that's all great. That's all fine and dandy. But what about preventing accidents in the first place? All these touchscreen interfaces do is add another distraction to your car. Another way to get a distracted driving ticket. But it's so widespread and widely accepted now that it's in every car. And it's terrible. All in all, the extra functionality is nice, but I've never met anybody who prefers a touchscreen interface over a button interface in a car. I wish more people would understand just how big of a problem this is. Yeah, buttons may not look as futuristic as a nice big old screen on your dashboard, but in the context of having them in a car where you're supposed to be keeping your eyes on the road, it just kills me, man. So yeah, all we can really do is hope that one day automakers come to their senses and realize, hey, this is a bad idea. People are getting more accidents and shit. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you're one of those people that prefers touchscreen interfaces on a car, I hope you come to your senses, man. And with that, I'll see you all later.